What if the trash in your yard could become the most beautiful thing on your block? Welcome to Revive Nature, where we turn waste into wonder, one garden at a time. In this video, we're diving into some of the most creative, low-cost, and visually stunning DIY trash garden ideas you've never seen before. Scroll through the timestamps and skip to what inspires you most. And if something sparks a question, drop it in the comments. And hey, if any of these ideas move you, don't just watch. Create. Use what you already have. Start where you are. Maybe I'm just another voice in your feed. But behind this screen is a real story. A real dream. This isn't just content, it's my hope, my passion, my way of holding on. When you tap subscribe, you're not just following a channel. You're helping a small family keep going. You're saying, I see you. I believe in this. Thank you for watching. Thank you for making this dream feel possible. In the quiet charm of a cottage garden, tucked between lavender and marigold borders, rises a fence made not of wood or stone, but of memory, color, and glass. The bottle fence blossoms is more than a barrier. It is a story written in light and reflection. Old bottles once discarded, rescued from bins and basements, now stand proudly, painted in hues of mint, amber, and soft sea blue. Each bottle catches the morning sun like a prism, casting rainbows over the marigold petals below. The tiny garden hums with life. Chrysanthemums bloom in tidy clusters, their earthy scent drifting through the air. Japanese anemones sway beside the bottles, delicate yet resilient, a mirror to the fence itself. Here, in this patch of color, what was once trash has become treasure, an art form stitched into the soul of the garden. As the day passes, light shifts gently across the glass, making the fence feel alive. Children pause to run their hands along the ridged surface, curious about the glowing bottles. Bees hum near the base, drawn to the riot of blooms planted as if to protect this glass sculpture. It feels like something born from both earth and sky. At dusk, the last rays of sun hit the bottles and they sparkle like gems. In this fading light, the garden fence tells its final tale for the day, that beauty is not in perfection, but in the act of renewal. What once was trash has found its purpose again, framing the garden not just with color, but with hope. The bottle fence blossoms does not shout, but it invites. It does not guard, but it welcomes. It is a whisper to every passerby that magic can be made, not bought. That a garden, even a tiny one, can hold within it the wonder of transformation, and that every bloom shines a little brighter when surrounded by something reborn. At the far end of a tiny backyard, where stepping stones lead through thick marigold blooms and autumn grass sways in rhythm with the wind, rises something unexpected, an archway crafted not from vines or wood, but from forgotten wheels. This is the backyard wheel archway. Each wheel once spun across asphalt roads, now lifted to the sky, forming a graceful passage into a garden filled with light and renewal. Painted in cottage hues, dusty sage, pale lavender, muted mustard, the old wheels take on a softness, as if made to belong among petals. Climbing around their metal curves are tendrils of Japanese anemone, their pale blossoms nodding in approval. Sedum grows boldly at the base, catching the sunlight in thick pink clusters. In this space, industry has found poetry. The arch does not stand alone. It becomes a threshold, a gentle suggestion that here, within the garden, time moves differently. One enters through steel but emerges into softness, into scent and color and calm. Children duck beneath it in play, tossing leaves and laughter in the air. Visitors pause for photographs, marveling at the harmony of steel and bloom. No rust shows, only clean lines, reimagined with care. The wheels have been reborn, not as machines, but as a structure of beauty and surprise. And when evening comes, the arch catches the last gold of sunlight. Its round forms become halos against the sky. In the fading light, the garden hums a silent song. That transformation is not just possible, but powerful. In the world of the backyard wheel archway, no item is too old, no scrap too forgotten. Here, even car parts bloom. There's a wall, just a plain garden wall, until you look again. Then you see it, the shimmer of color, the tapestry of life, the rhythm of design made not with tiles or bricks, but with bottles, cut, painted, and brought back to bloom. This is the bottle wall planter mosaic, a living patchwork of upcycled beauty. What was once plastic waste now lines the wall like an intricate quilt. Each bottle has been halved and gently reshaped, their edges smoothed and painted in soft garden tones, moss green, lavender, faded coral. Within them, tiny gardens live. Herbs tumble over the edges, releasing scent with the breeze. Chrysanthemums press outward in their golden glory. Japanese anemones tilt their faces toward the sun. Sedum softens the lines, like clouds between bottle rows. It's more than decor, it's purpose reborn. A vertical garden for a small space, a breath of green in a narrow patio, a story of creativity stitched into plastic and color. The bottles are arranged like a mosaic, each one a pixel of a larger image, of sustainability, of charm, of quiet revolution. Visitors pause, drawn in by the unexpected harmony. The bottles don't pretend to be anything else, they celebrate what they are, trash given new life, transformed into vessels of growth. They hold soil now, not soda. Roots, not residue. In this wall, there is no waste, only potential. It teaches without preaching. It grows without taking space. And in fall, as the flowers bloom bold and the air turns crisp, this bottle mosaic seems to glow. It's a reminder that beauty can rise from anywhere. That your garden doesn't need acres, just a wall, a little paint, and a dream of bloom. The bottle wall planter mosaic isn't just a solution. It's a celebration. In the heart of a small garden, beside the fluttering leaves of marigolds and the golden glow of autumn sedum, stands a throne, not of gold, but of rubber and color, shaped by hands that see beauty in the forgotten. The rustic tire flower throne is more than a seat. It is a statement, a sculpture, a resting place born from what once rolled through city streets. Now, stacked in layers, each tire is reborn with a painter's touch. Soft pastels, faded reds, and mossy greens coat the surface, echoing the tones of the surrounding garden. Around the base, flowers gather like courtiers. Chrysanthemums nod their round faces toward the sun. Japanese anemones climb up the trellis beside it. Sedum curls at its feet like living cushions. The tire's old grooves now hold petals and vines instead of road dust. Children sit in it as if it were a fairy seat. Adults pause beside it, admiring the contradiction. Strong and soft, old and new, waste and wonder. And all around, the garden breathes life into it, as if welcoming this odd newcomer to its court of color. The throne fits perfectly in a cottage corner, tucked near a pergola or placed at the end of a winding path. It offers rest. But more than that, it offers reminder that even the most unlikely objects can become beautiful when touched by intention. No one sees the tire anymore. They see a throne of blooms, a sculpture that invites. And beneath the layers of paint, beneath the layers of time, lies a story of reinvention. The rustic tire flower throne tells us this. You don't need a palace to feel like royalty. Just a small garden, a few old tires, and the courage to see potential where others see only trash. In the quiet embrace of a small garden, color rises not just from flowers, but from the ground itself. Bottles, buried neck down, standing like jewels along the soil's edge. They form a border that catches the sun and turns a simple garden bed into a glowing path of light. This is the Glow Bottle Garden border, where old glass finds new purpose in the language of bloom and beauty. Once tossed aside, these bottles now live among marigolds and asters, their soft curves catching morning dew. Painted lightly or left in their original emerald, cobalt, or amber, they reflect light differently through the day. In the early morning, they shimmer cool and blue. By noon, they blaze gold. At dusk, they echo the fire of fall skies. No two bottles are the same, yet together they form harmony, like stained glass stitched into soil. The flowers dance behind them, Japanese anemones tall and proud, chrysanthemums clustered in full bloom, sedums softening the gaps with thick texture. This edging doesn't just mark boundaries, it gives the garden rhythm. It says, here, something matters. Something blooms. The glowing bottles create visual flow, guiding the eye from path to petal, from soil to sun. Children are drawn to them, tracing fingers along the glass like discovering treasure. Guests pause, curious. Are those bottles? They ask, with wonder. And the gardener, quiet, deliberate, smiles. Yes, bottles. Once empty, now full of meaning. Framing a garden not with expense, but with imagination. The Glow Bottle Garden border isn't loud. It doesn't demand space. It respects the garden's voice and adds its own notes of color and light. In a tiny yard or compact patio, it gives structure without steel, form without harshness. It reminds us that even in a small space, the ground can glow when we choose to see beauty in what's already here. There, against the wooden fence where the sun leans in gently every afternoon, stands something unexpected, the sleek curve of a vintage car hood, no longer rumbling down highways, but now brimming with life. Mint and basil spill from its flanks. Chrysanthemums bloom from its hollowed heart. This is the car hood herb wall, where steel meets soil in a quiet symphony of reuse and rebirth. Once a machine's armor, the hood now wears earth. Painted in soft farmhouse whites, with flecks of sage and blush green, it leans proudly like a garden canvas. Small planter slots, cut from old bottles or wooden drawers, dot its surface, each holding herbs, trailing flowers, or succulents reaching for light. It smells of thyme and marigold. It hums with bees in the late morning. In the space of a single wall, it turns what was once noise and fumes into scent and bloom. The garden around it is modest. A narrow bed of sedum cushions the base. A few pavers lead up to it, like approaching a mural. But the presence of the hood is bold. It transforms a bare corner of the patio into a story. It speaks to the dreamers. To those who see more in what has been than what could be bought. It's not just a DIY, it's a resurrection. A declaration that even industrial shapes can hold life. That metal, when placed with love, can support roots just as well as earth. Visitors are drawn in. They run their hands along the painted surface, marvel at the softness of the herbs against the toughness of the steel. They ask questions, and the garden answers with scent and bloom. And so, the car hood herb wall becomes not just a garden piece, but a centerpiece. A reminder that in tiny yards and humble corners, beauty can rise from anything, even a car long forgotten. In the middle of a small backyard patio, where chairs invite rest and flowers gently lean into the breeze, there's something above, a canopy of suspended bottles, swaying like glass wind chimes in slow motion. They hang from reclaimed wooden beams, each bottle a memory transformed. Some are frosted white, others pale green or dusty rose, all painted lovingly to catch the sun just so. As morning light pierces their curved forms, colors scatter like watercolor onto the pavers below. This is the suspended bottle canopy for patios, a ceiling made not of fabric or tin, but of light, sound, and shimmering possibility. The bottles were once tossed aside, ordinary soda or juice containers. But now they've become jewels. Some cradle tiny lights, others hold dried petals. A few are left open to sing softly with the wind. Each one hangs with intention, forming a constellation above the head of anyone who passes beneath. Below, a small bench waits, nestled among pots of marigolds and flowering sedum. The sound of bees hums at a distance. A kettle steams on the table. And overhead, the bottles continue their quiet performance, casting ever-shifting shapes on the ground like shadows with color. Guests look up and smile. Children point. The garden becomes more than a place to grow, it becomes a place to be. A sanctuary of reuse and grace. There is no grand budget here. No expensive sculpture or pergola imported from catalog pages. Just bottles, wire, and the will to turn waste into wonder. And when night falls, tiny lights flicker from within the bottles. The canopy turns to starlight. The garden glows from above and below. And in that moment, this simple space becomes a cathedral of creativity. The suspended bottle canopy for patios is not about scale, it's about soul. A humble idea, lifted skyward by care. There, where metal once roared and pistons danced in fire and fuel, now sits silence. Stillness. Bloom. The old car engine, worn and weary from decades of motion, has found peace, not in scrap, but in soil. This is the engine block garden pedestal, a bold reimagining of power and grace. No longer buried beneath the hood of a roaring machine, the engine now lifts a pot of chrysanthemums to sunlight, standing firm in the middle of a quiet garden. Painted in matte charcoal, or sometimes bronzed with a rustic patina, its shape remains raw, cylinders, ridges, and carved holes still echoing their past. But inside those gaps now grow moss and thyme. Small vines creep through the spaces where once sparks flew. Atop the block sits life. A pot bursting with golden mums. A vintage watering can with asters spilling out. Or simply a bowl of herbs, their scent grounding the air. The weight of the engine anchors the garden, while its surface offers a platform for seasonal beauty. Surrounding it, a bed of marigolds sways gently in the wind. Japanese anemones lean closer, curious. The pedestal becomes not just function, but focal point, a sculpture in the language of reuse. Visitors are surprised at first. Is that an engine? They ask. But then they smile. They see the contrast and the harmony. The engine, once filled with heat and haste, now cool and rooted, lifting life instead of exhaust. In a small space, be it a patio corner, a front yard nook, or near the edge of a pergola, this pedestal draws the eye and tells a story. Of transformation. Of strength redefined. It whispers that nothing is too industrial to be soft. That even the heart of a car can hold flowers. tucked into the quiet corner of a tiny backyard, where thyme grows between stone steps and chrysanthemums bloom along a low fence, there stands a tower of color and calm, a bottle fountain, gently whispering water into the garden air. Crafted from forgotten glass, some clear, some sea blue, others faintly green, this fountain rises like a sculpture of sound. The bottles, carefully arranged and slightly tilted, allow water to flow gently from one to the next, each catching the sunlight as it passes. The sound is soft, like distant rain. The trickle of water cools the warm garden air. Bees pause at the edge of the basin. Children crouch close, hypnotized by the rhythm. This isn't a grand installation. It's small, humble, even. But in its modest scale lies its magic. The bottle fountain in tiny garden brings movement to a static world. It becomes the heartbeat of the space, syncing with the rustle of leaves and the sway of marigold heads. Behind it, sedum thrives. To the sides, Japanese anemones nod their delicate blooms. Moss creeps between the stones below, softened by spray. The whole scene feels like a secret, something stumbled upon in a fairy tale rather than built in one's backyard. The bottles have history. Wine, soda, maybe olive oil. Their labels are gone, but their purpose now is timeless. They carry no brand, only water and reflection. At night, lights hidden beneath the fountain cast shimmering shadows on the fence. The water continues to flow, quieting the world even as the garden sleeps. Guests linger here longer. Conversations hush. Phones stay pocketed. In this tiny garden, made spacious by sound and soul, the fountain is a reminder, peace can be handmade. Beauty doesn't need grandeur, only intention. The bottle fountain in tiny garden is proof that the smallest spaces can hold the deepest calm. That discarded glass can be reborn not just as decor, but as sanctuary. In the quietest corner of a tiny garden, where bees hum low and the earth stays warm long after sunset, stands a delicate structure, pieced together from old bones of machines long still. It is small, simple, and alive with green. This is the rusty frame greenhouse nook, a place where upcycling meets growth. Crafted from reclaimed car window frames and bent metal pieces, this greenhouse doesn't hide its past. But it doesn't wear rust either. Each frame has been gently brushed, sealed, and painted in soft garden tones, sage, cream, and dusty pink. The panels catch the light just so. Within, small trays hold herbs pushing through dark soil, thyme, parsley, baby kale. A line of Japanese anemones stands guard outside, blooming like quiet sentinels. It's not a full greenhouse, but it doesn't need to be. It's a nook, a shelter for tender sprouts, a space of warmth and rest. In the cold of early fall mornings, condensation clings to the glass. By noon, warmth gathers and the greens stretch higher. Around it, sedum blooms low and dense. Mums form a soft ring of color. A single wooden chair leans nearby, ready for a gardener's break or quiet contemplation. This is not a factory's greenhouse. This is a poet's. Visitors often pause. They tilt their heads, recognizing shapes once seen in windshields and doors. But now those frames hold life, not glass. Purpose, not speed. In a world rushing toward the next big thing, the rusty frame greenhouse nook slows everything down. It reminds us that we don't need acres or budgets to grow. Just a bit of shelter, a bit of vision, and a heart tuned to possibility. And so it stands, part relic, part refuge, nestled among blooms, whispering softly with every leaf, even the discarded can become home.